And we're back. If I sound a little more gravelly than usual, I got a bit of a sore throat, so my voice will have more character. Starting off with a tower defense. My only real critique with the tower defense is that, should you choose to ignore it, like, as an option, the amount by which the danger increases is a bit extreme. Why couldn't there be an upgrade that lets us make it so that if the zombies do get through, that it's less of a problem for us? But I actually wanted to open with a bit of an apology because my last video, I sort of blew my stack. Now, I'm not apologizing on my criticisms, because I still feel that they are very valid, but my delivery was a bit unprofessional, so there you have it. That's the size of it. I didn't need to, nor did I mean to be such an angsty twat. It was late, I was tired, and I had been literally playing this series for more than a month, consistently, so you may have noticed I took some time off. Feel a bit less burnt out about it. Oh, crap. Wait, how do we miss two? You know, we have an area that should be drawing a lot more attention than this. Why is this such a popular spot for the Zed? This guy's a problem. I can't even hit him. Oh my god, he's gonna crack my tower. Oh no. There we go. Saved by the bell. Literally saved by the bell. Because I couldn't hit him there. He could just keep attacking the tower where he was. That would have gone to shit very quickly. Okay, so it's clear I need more gun. But somebody actually suggested that I should also get more civvies in my team so that I'm making more money. Here's the thing. I've got 7 engineers and they produce 50% more money than civvies. And proportionally, I have as many of them as I have of soldiers. I don't think the composition of my team... Because some would say that I've got like 50,000 in the money. Why am I not spending it? Because when you start putting together a shelter for the militia and you start working on that, poof, there goes your money. And the thing is, once you've started in an area like here, like I have, you have to run it through. And you don't want to end up spending that money when you're going to need it to develop the thing so you can hold on to the area. Weirdly, I'm going on and on about, like, I don't have enough money, and people's advice to me to resolve that issue is usually bad financial advice, I think. Hey. Yeah, fight each other. This time without even me having to intervene. Hey, come on, werewolves. You and the zombies used to be friends. Oh shit, it's a party! Oh, I would so, like, pistol convert that guy if he wasn't too far away. At least in the tower you can't get jumped on, that's a nice switch, although the bosses will, like, one-shot the tower if they hit it. I can hit you with a machine gun from here. I don't want a guy pecking at me with arrows and a guy pecking at me with rockets at the same time. Now I can maybe convert this mutant master, get Rocket Guy going after him instead of me. That'd be nice. Oh, where were you camping out, buddy? Now what is happening down here? Why is this just... Oh, I see a chance for a funny again. Yes, I think that's what I needed, was just time off from this game. Because, make no mistake, me putting together an hour's worth of footage on a daily basis for the month of October, like I did. Me putting together an hour's worth of footage for the month of October, like I did, that was exhausting. And Decision was just not helping matters. Oh god, we got another... Oh. Something softened him up. You know, I'm just gonna let them work out their differences. Yeah, see, they're talking it out and beating the tar out of each other. Why does medium armor make you so slow? Like, I'm sure if I had higher agility, that might help, but it's medium armor. I know the machine gun isn't helping, because that's not something that's made very clear, but it would certainly seem to me that, like, the lighter a weapon you're carrying, the faster you move. Which makes sense. God, that brute is just going to keep pecking at me while these idiots jump at me. So what have I been doing instead of providing a daily dosage of Decision? Because I very much needed to not for a while. After my mother's insistence that I air my... And by the way, that video was old Metal Gear Solid 5 video, where I had, like... I said as much in the description. I had the hard drive space for, like, one game of modest, like, size. And basically I was thinking, okay, it's either going to be MGS5 The Phantom Pain, because I still haven't played Ground Zeroes, because, let's be real, Ground Zeroes was basically a paid demo for The Phantom Pain. I mean, some people have likened it to Metal Gear Solid 5's version of, like, the tanker chapter compared to the plant chapter in Metal Gear Solid 2. All of this has no meaning unless you've actually played the games that I'm referencing. Honestly, the thing that, like, upsets me is the fact that Metal Gear Solid 4... Because I like, stopped with PlayStation at, like, Generation 4, so... Generation 4 would be PlayStation 2, which... Like... not a bad stopping point. PlayStation 2 had a lot of good stuff. Like, it was no technical powerhouse, but a lot of fantastic games were made on that console. But that meant I only got as far as Metal Gear Solid 3, and not 4. I didn't get to fight the geckos, I didn't get the Octocam, all the other cool stuff. Okay, this is getting a bit dicey. Wolver would chill out for a minute. Back up the tower. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of The Phantom Pain, and I gotta say, because, the principle was, like, it was going to be the Deus Ex or the Phantom Pain. And I am referring to, like, Human Revolution, not the original Deus Ex. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give each of these games, like, an hour to make an impression and impress me. And whichever one succeeds at that, I'm going to start playing. Now, ultimately, I didn't play either, fortunately. Got bogged down in Fortnite. Honestly, as much as I would love to have the Carnage skin, I'm seriously thinking that this time I am off that game. Like, I'm not grinding for that shit. That game has just been a huge pain in my ass for a while now. Now, I was impressed, though, with Human Revolution. And the real problem, though, is that giving a Metal Gear game like an hour to impress is, especially for somebody like me who like knows Kojima and Metal Gear and how that usually comes together, probably a bad idea, because like a Metal Gear game can take an hour just to get started. I mean, the whole intro scroll of like the codec calls and the intro cinematic of Metal Gear Solid 2 is like a half an hour right there. That's before you even start playing. So yeah, I uploaded that video and like aired it, and I was like watching it back to myself, like, you know, I sort of gave it an hour to impress me, not acknowledging the fact that it's probably going to take that hour to get started, and maybe I should like play an hour of the actual game to get a sense of what playing the game itself is going to be like. And after I'd done so, I was like, this is pretty good. And at this point, I've already like beaten all the story missions and beaten all the side objectives and unlocked a bunch of stuff, and I got a half-developed forward operating base. Weird part is I noticed some parallels in terms of like base and personnel management with this game right here, and it forced me to ponder, like, why is it I could sink that much time all at once into the Phantom Pain, and yet like doing something like that here irritates me so much. And I mean, a lot of people would like go for the sort of common answer of like, well, that's not a fair comparison. You're talking about like a small indie studio working on a free game compared to, you know, big Konami and their thing. And it's like, the issue is not like visual quality. That has nothing to do with it. I suspect it's the fact that, so, the way base building in the Phantom Pain works is that basically upgrading your base, which costs resources, primarily serves the purpose of more space for crew members. And your crew members have specific levels, which their cumulative level determines your overall development level for a given thing, like support or combat or whatever. Where's the den? I would imagine it would be down here. And I think what I noticed is that, of course, when I'm recruiting people in Metal Gear Solid 5, it's the enemy soldiers you're recruiting. So you could take it the easy way and just, like, blow somebody's brains out. Clean, quick, stealthy. However, if they're of a particularly high skill level, you want to trank them and get them to a safe spot and Fulton them out. And the thing is, the recruiting aspect there is entirely... it's active. Like, you're out there, you're just sort of doing the thing you need to do for your missions, and then you find a soldier that looks good and you recruit him. It's kind of like how Ark has... you know, how you would tame a dinosaur in Ark. Like, you go out, you find a dino that you like just sort of out there, and then you tame it. Whereas here, that is determined by your roaming and wandering, and like I said, it gets tedious, and it's needless. Holy... Well, that's a metric fuck ton of fuck no. I'm running for as long as I can. Hopefully not into anything far worse. Oh, I'd love to get in that tower, but... Personal space! Personal space! Back off! I don't want any zombie cookies. Stunlock me, don't stunlock me, don't stunlock me. Get me to the tower, get me to the tower, get me to the tower. Go, 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 go. Shit! Damn wolves! How are they getting in behind me, though? Maybe this time. Well, that could have ended in disaster. I think I had some sprint there to work with. Oh, there's still a lot of you scattered around. Why is the tower, like, right here at the start? I suppose that mixes things up a bit. Say the tower, it's the outpost now. All sorts of definitions are being changed around. Of course, the Wolvers would be the last things left alive. Not as bad as the Commanders and the Masters, but they're bad enough. Especially at this difficulty. Oh, you just know that's going to be like a defend the point, which means that I gotta... It's time to mine! See, this tedium I'm fine with, because... You know... Before, this was how I sort of was punching above my weight, and was able to sort of put together the better gear, and so forth. Because that's another point I noticed in terms of discrepancy between, like, this and Metal Gear Solid 5, is the fact that your arsenal is limited by, like, the skill level of your soldiers, and that, in turn, is limited by how much space you have for them, and the quality. But the point is, none of this is really beyond the player's control. Limitations are not in and of themselves the problem, it's arbitrary limitations. And what I'm referring to when I talk about arbitrary limitations, it's the Masters. Because it's like, you cannot have this until you have done a thing, until you have explored a certain zone. And, I mean, sure, it's to some extent up to the player to, like, go out there and do that, and work it out. But at the same time, if you're not equipped for that, if you're not ready for that, you can't reasonably go out in the zone. I mean, I'm already hitting well above my character's weight in terms of what Sarge is equipped to deal with, in terms of what I'm equipped to deal with here. Unupgraded weapons, I just can't put it all together quickly enough. I'd wager that even that's not going to be enough.
Listen to me.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, make yourselves at least marginally useful. Keep those Wolvers off of me.
Thanks for the help.
And there you go. Some mines couldn't fix. Oh, I'll be back for you, engineer. I got room and you produce a lot of muns. God, there's still so much, like, shit out there, too. Stash. There's the stash. Yeah, we definitely need a weaponry upgrade, but I'm just hoping... Okay, so yeah, the shelter is in this part of the map. I'm not going to have to do that bullshit again where I have to, like, go do the factory capture in addition to everything the fuck else. Get me up the tower, get me up the tower, go, 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 go. What? Sprint now, not next to the explosive barrel. Ah, you were unable to stunlock me. Well, that boss just single-handedly bumped up the freaking danger in this area. Honestly, that's something in a lot of modern games that kind of upsets me, the fact that, you know, to keep performance acceptable on most machines, you have that bullshit of, like, oh, well, we can't have all the enemies in on the map at the same time, because it drains processor resources. So when the player reaches a certain point, we'll spawn them in, and... I mean, open games have to be more clever in how they do that, like having a certain spawn radius, because obviously you can't just script a predefined point where, oh yeah, this enemy will spawn in when the player gets to here, because the player has to go through here. You can't do that in open games. Actually, not to talk about pretty much everything other than this game, although I've said it before in various moods and states, and I've made my point here that there's really nothing meta or anything useful to say at this point. Now it's just keep turning the crank handle until Jack pops out of the box. But I found out, because I didn't know this before, that, like, when they launched, like, Halo Infinite, the multiplayer is going to be free to play, which is actually really good, because I've made the statement over and over again that I swear to God, Battle Royales are kept head above water purely on the grounds that they're, most of them at least, are free to play. And I was basically thinking to myself that why is it, though, that only Battle Royale opts for that sort of economic model? Because arena shooters could do that too, and now we have things like Splitgate, which does operate on that sort of Battle Pass model, but it's free to play. And it's like, if it is enough to keep these Battle Royales, which are not exemplars of good gaming, in my humble opinion, afloat, then surely other developers could kind of opt for that model, because in terms of accessibility, it's amazing. Like, your friends have no excuse not to play it. It is free to play. Honestly, if Overkill Software wasn't having such big problems and Starbreeze Studios, I'd wonder why they haven't, like, done that with Payday 2 yet. They might even when, like, Payday 3 comes out, but you'll probably still have to pay for all the DLC, which is... I swear, honestly, they've probably made more money through the DLC than they have through the original sale of the game. I mean, I've stated before that I have a problem with that model, like using DLC as the prime earner for something. However, my issue is not necessarily with the usage of that as a market tactic, because it is actually clever. My issue is that a lot of people use it as a gateway to sell, like, moonshine in your, like, old Chevy engine in the garage quality, but selling it like it's fine, you know, Chateau Romani. It just doesn't make any damn sense. And again, we also have Call of Duty, which will straight up sell you a new game, which is basically just the old game with like a dozen new weapons that are functionally identical to the previous 5 dozen that already existed. I mean, I tried coming up with this notion of, like, okay, what sort of weapons do you need in a shooter? Because your Call of Duties and your Battlefields and stuff like that, they have, like, 6 different submachine guns, 6 different shotguns. And I'm fully aware of the subtle differences from one weapon to another, but the point is, from, like, Doom Eternal really got me onto this track of, like, gameplay-wise, what's the difference? Like, what is the major big thing that you couldn't just get by with one of these? And the reality is, typically, there isn't really a difference. I mean, if you think of something like Titanfall, I mean, sure, there's, like, 2 submachine guns and, like, 2 assault rifles and so forth, but that's a substantial reduction, and they have major performance differences. Like, one of the assault rifles is burst firing. The other one isn't, and that alters, like, how it behaves in the game. And it occurred to me that, like, you don't necessarily need what the classic games did. The sort of Doom where you have your rapid-fire hit scan, and then your rapid-fire projectile, and then your splash damage weapon and a couple of shotguns. You don't need to have exotic, weird stuff to sort of make a decent shooter arsenal. What you need is a grid that sort of has the properties of the weapon, like rapid firing, or its effective range, or its effective damage, or something. And you need to place weapons in that grid and not have this issue of, you know, oh, well, this submachine gun's got like 5 extra rounds in the magazine, but it does like 0.4 less damage, or something like really subtle like that, that for all intents and purposes, it's like, why even bother? Oh, of all the times to miss, because I can actually convert this one. Yes, fight each other. Nice that it's not the freaking Overlord again. Hey, come on, boys. I want all of you following me so I can drag you to the big boss. Okay, stamina's a bit of an issue. Come on. Yes, follow. And it occurred to me that, like, well, I wager, like, gun nuts love the fact that there's 6 different submachine guns from different, like, national manufacturers and stuff like that. My issue, if you're going to include weapons customization that lets you have more rounds in the magazine, or a longer barrel for more precision, or to suppress the weapon, like, pretty much anything, why not? Because you've got this thing with, like, cosmetics and skins in games now of, like, oh, I want my gun to look dark and stealthy, or I want my gun to look floral and pretty, or I want my gun to look like the stars. And it all, to me, kind of feels like, okay, why can't we use that to have different things? Like, how about we have a game where you have a submachine gun, but you could skin it to be an Uzi, you could skin it to be an MP5, you could skin it to be like a MAC-10, you could skin it to be an MP40, like, why not have the sort of myriad of, like, IRL weapons that we're basing it off of just be skins for what is functionally the same machine gun? And the thing is, critically, what that helps to preserve is gameplay balance, because now the submachine gun is a very specific weapon, serves a specific role, and does its job. So you don't have this issue of metas popping up because, or trouble like keeping up with the meta because it's just done. As I understand it, the shelter is normally where you find the master, so where did he end up? Because I think we're on, like, the rock now. Not the subtlest of references. I can't believe it how long it took for me to figure out the kind of inside joke they were making in the Central Intelligence film. Because we have Dwayne Johnson. Johnson being a potential euphemism for a man's crank. And his character is Bobby Weirdick. And then his pseudonym that he assumes is is Bob Stone. Stone, like a rock. And it's like, oh my god, how did I not like figure that out in 2 seconds? It was on like the rewatch. Of course, Kevin Hart's basically just screaming for half the picture, which is most of the films he's in for more than 5 minutes these days. I kind of feel like he's sort of trying to be the modern Chris Tucker.
I'm relying on your help.
There's the rock. He's invincible, right? I'll just get him to help me out with the thing over here. Not that he'll be good for much, but...
Right behind you.
And once again, the mining. Here's the thing, after this, it's just training the guards, like, all of them, and then, like, we can actually start spending money on other things. I can get my armor upgraded, maybe, and I can get some weapons upgraded, perhaps more critically. I'm fine with being a glass cannon. It's probably got something to do with the fact that I tend to snipe a lot, and you don't really have to worry about, like, getting shot if you're so far away that they can't see you, much less hit you. Problem is, a lot of games which emphasize mobility, sniping doesn't work the way it ought to, where you've got to, like, line up the target, you've got to compensate for the drop, and the travel time, and so forth and so on. And, like, sniping there is an extraordinary expression of skill. In most games, just having the sniper rifle and being able to open up enough distance to your target basically makes you indestructible, and it undermines the skill involved in sniping, and people ought to understand that I'm pretty skilled in sniping. I know that probably the only thing, like, broadcast on my channel that would allude to that would be my Fortnite stuff, where I just do a mixture of sneaking and stealthiness and just being, you know, a good shot, knowing when to pick my shots. I mean, maybe that's what I'll upgrade here. Get my, like, sniper rifle for Sarge, like, really buffed out. Give it the gun steroids. I just found it funny that, because Arnold Schwarzenegger did a whole statement on, like, steroid usage in bodybuilding in his day and why it was normative. Because, for starters, steroid usage in sort of physical pageants was never really an issue. It became an issue when, like, sportsmen started to use it in competitive sports, because, I mean, obviously there you can see why stuff like human growth hormone and steroids would be an issue, but the way it was used responsibly at the time in male bodybuilding was, like, there's a time when you want to give your muscles the most possible definition. And to do that, you want to lose as much, like, skin fat and muscular fat as possible. The problem is, as you cut down on your diet to achieve that, you lose muscle mass before you actually lose, like, all your fatty tissue. And that's a problem. So to prevent that, you would take steroids. Because they would prevent that from happening. got a big one. Fight the others. I'll let them sort out the differences while I guide the inspector, who's somewhere, safely to the thing. Yeah, come on. They're fighting each other now. We can go. So yeah, the sort of stereotype that bodybuilders back then were just like pumping steroids to get buff. No. They worked hard to get that buff. They started using steroids specifically when they needed to lose weight, but not muscle mass, in the, like, 2 weeks prior to their actual presentation. Now, it still had negative side effects, like Arnold had that whole problem with, you know, his heart. But the issue was that, like, with sports and, of course, also in bodybuilding, people just started using steroids because, hey, like, get strong quick. Why try hard when you don't have to? And Arnold was, like, giving this rant on the grounds that it will basically be impossible for bodybuilders now to achieve, like, that sort of 80s peak physical fitness because they can't use the steroids anymore. So when they cut, they lose critical muscle mass, and if they don't cut, they end up being a bit chunky for the presentation, which is why they don't look as like a carving. I am perhaps overly critical of some people in regards to that a lot of people are willing to accept gross oversimplification of something. I'm not. Context is important. Details are important.
Good to see you.
It's easy for people to say that, like, oh, these, like, mega bodybuilders, they pump steroids and they get super strong and super buff, but there's so much more to it than that. So much more to a lot of things. Wasn't there a ranger, like, kicking around here or something? Did he wander off?
Listen to me.
Oh, there's Dr. Bear. Rapid wound healing, Middle Ages became popular and in high demand. Witch doctors made a really... not what witch doctors do. I'll let that slide. Recipe was kept secret. Knight wanted to heal his brother who's already dead. Yeah, I'm sure that'll end well. After the potion was used, woke up. Basically the plot of Overlord. Okay, but in Medieval, they claim that this has happened before, so how long has this elixir of immortality been buzzing around, making problems for everybody? I'm guessing a long time, by the look of it. I'm recording. Who are you, the guy? You are the guy. Yeah, come on.
Can I help
You will send to the camp. We don't actually, like, need a ranger right now. Don't. Oh, yeah, the walking animation gets a bit weird when you get the pistol out. I don't know if it's because of the pistol's modification of base speed, or what my base speed is set at now that the animation just can't compensate for it. It's a bit jank. See, that I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem really with games presentation. I've played enough pixel stuff to make that point. My problem is just with whether or not the mechanics work as intended, or whether they work full stop. Like, they actually make sense.